So how does the interaction between the Republic of Texas and the state of Texas work? For example, like driver's licenses. Do you have a driver's license with the state of Texas, the Republic of Texas, both? Who has jurisdiction over you as you're driving?
Well, actually, I sent my driver's license back in about 10 or 15 years ago when I found out there was no such thing. The Supreme Court of Texas and the Supreme Court of the United States says there's no such thing as a driver's license. Now, there is a commercial driver's license,
Okay.
where if you operate in commerce, you have to have a driver's license.
Right.
And most people don't read the codes, and they don't understand that when you don't operate in commerce, you have a right to travel. And so that's what
Yeah, that is a fundamental right.
that's a fundamental right.
So
And-
I've always wondered, like, why do you need a license for fundamental right?
Right, exactly. You don't need a license for rights. Whenever the government takes a right and converts it to a privilege and charges a fee, therefore, you have every right to not even pay any attention to it.
So like a marriage license, I completely am 100% against the idea of these marriage licenses.
Right.
In fact, I think that when the state of Texas offers a marriage license, I think they are inducing you to enter into a fraudulent contract because the state will not back up that what they say they are doing.
That's correct.
So I think
what
that we
they
should-
will do is they claim part owner of your children.
Oh,
And
that
that's-
is true.
That's the worst part.
Yeah, yeah.
Because whenever you have a three-party system like that,
Right.
you have a man and his wife, and now you have the state involved.
Yeah.
Instead of having a man and his wife and God involved,
Exactly.
you have a real problem. And now the state becomes a part of your marriage. And that's why they can come in and take your children and tell you what you're going to do, and you have to do this, you have to do that. And I agree, you don't need a marriage license. In
Right.
fact, most marriages in the old days were written in the Bible.
Yeah,
They
right.
were recorded in the Bible. Births and deaths were recorded in the Bible.
Right.
And that's as good a record as you need.
Right, and there's within the Christian church there's the diagram that's often used as like a marriage as God, husband, and wife, and then of course the offspring comes from that. The unholy trinity right now is the state.
That's
the
correct.
state has taken the place of God,
That's exactly right.
and so this is a very interesting concept here. So people that are married, and I'm sorry, I'm digressing right now, but you hit on something that's very close to my heart. So people that are currently married and they have a marriage license, they say, wait a minute, I don't really need this. I never did need this. Is there something they can do to rescind it?
There is a way to do that. I haven't done that. What you have to do is rescind your signature on all those documents.
Okay.
And then you can go back to doing whatever you want to do. It's incidentally, that right to travel. We go back to this
Right.
to travel, right to marry, right to do a lot of things. The government can't tell you what means of conveyance you have to use. Now they do, because they say, well, you can use this car or this automobile or this motor vehicle, and those are all terms that you have to be very aware of and know what they mean to be able to use them. But if your private conveyance or your whatever you're traveling in happens to be a car or a motorcycle or a lawnmower or a horse or a bicycle, you're not limited to how you can travel.
Yeah.
You can travel any way you want to.
So, but one of the questions I do have, though, is because if you look at our road systems, they're paid for by funds that the state of Texas has gathered. So basically, as a person within the Republic of Texas, you're using somebody else's property, so to speak?
What happens is we've always said that there's not supposed to be any taxes in Texas. You can volunteer for certain things, but actually, if you go back and read, taxes were taken by the schools so that we could have education for our children. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Individual ad valorem tax actually came about in the third Texas law, when Texas state law came out. The only three entities that were taxed, ad valorem tax, were corporations, railroads, and banks. Banks, corporations, and railroads. Those are the only three that were taxable through ad valorem tax. In that, and I've read the law. I've seen it back to the third edition, where they go back and they say personal property tax includes corporations. So what they did is they by the use of a birth certificate, they put your name in all capital letters. And incidentally, there's only two places in the English language where all capital letters names actually apply. Do you know where they are?
No, I don't.
One's on a tombstone for dead people.
Okay.
The other is in all capital letters name for a corporation. That's the only two places where an all capital letters name is proper.
Yeah.
So that's what made me look at my driver's license years ago, and I said, this is an all capital letters name. I wonder why they did that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a mistake or they just didn't have any upper and lower case. You turn the driver's license over and look on the backside, and it's written in upper and lower case, so it's not a mistake. They did that intentionally. So by one of their, I think it's rule 51 or 2, or maybe 53, I don't remember, 1 or 2, 51 or 2, that the state will make you a corporation no matter how they have to do it in court, so that when you go to court, you're a corporation. You're not a living man anymore.
Yeah, so that you brought up a phrase, the living man, and you've also
Living
talked
man.
about the all caps letter. And I've heard people talk to me about the all caps, And to be honest with you, I thought, I don't know exactly what they're talking about. So could you explain that a little bit more? Because it sounds, I mean, when the first time you hear it and you're like, I don't know I really have no clue what people that were talking to me about this meant.
Well, let me
So
ask
if
you a question.
Sure.
When you went to school and you learned your ABCs, most schools had it written around the top of the classroom.
Capital A, small
A,
a.
and little a.
Capital B, small b. Exactly.
Right. You had that done, right?
I had that done.
Okay,
But
good.
I'm dated. You know, I'm a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
I also learned cursive.
yeah. That's the only way I write is in cursive. I can print, and I used to print because I did a lot of estimating, and I had to print certain places. But then I write in cursive too. I still do it today.
Yeah.
But I always ask the question: when did somebody teach you to sign your name in all capital letters?
They never did.
Nobody ever did that. When did you ever see that? You see it on everything you get. You get it on your water
Social
bill.
Security.
You get it on your birth certificate.
Yeah.
You get it on your driver's license. You get it on your marriage license. You get it on everything that comes along. Everything is in all capital letters.
Yeah.
And that's not a mistake. That is done intentionally
Okay.
because that's where you became a corporation.
Okay.
And when somebody, and I do this when I've been in court, and they ask you in court, who are you talking to? What do you mean who you're talking to? Are you talking to the living man, or are you talking to the corporation? Because you can talk to both.
Yeah.
And when they say I'm talking to you, are you talking to me, or are you talking plurally? Because you is a singular and plural.
Yeah. Exactly.
Word.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of a way to catch things,
Yeah.
but you've been taught enough English to get by,
Yeah.
but you haven't been taught enough English to keep from being entrapped, and that's what they've done to us.
Yeah.
So when they put you give you an all capital letters name, that's what we're talking about, all capital letters, and the all capital letters is not the man. That is an artificially created entity. It's a corporation. They created it so they could deal with you. Did you know that you can't even in the courts that are here today, a living man cannot be heard in court. That's not his jurisdiction. He can't go in there.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. I've only been in one court case, and I've been in not a lot of court cases, but there's only been one court case that the person said, I am a living man. And I will talk with you man to man. But and I was watching the whole thing because it was completely perplexing to me.
Yeah.
But at the end, I mean, he didn't get everything that they wanted. Well, they didn't do to him what they could have done to him.
Yeah.
But it was just a very interesting way, and I kept on thinking, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it was interesting to watch it take place.
Yeah.
And-
That piece of paper that they send you for any presentment, and the IRS is good about that too. Any presentment they send you is in all capital letters.
Right.
They can't deal with you, the living man. They can't do that. So they deal with the corporation. They created a corporation. Now they can sue you. They can do whatever they want. They can wool you around, do whatever they want to do. But they can't do that to the living man.
That's very interesting.
If the living man knows how to defend it.
So a person who is a living man has a driver's license. Which does the Republic of Texas issue driver's licenses, or they don't?
We haven't yet. But we do have an identification card that gives you a right to travel.
Okay, I was going to say it would seem to me to say a license for something like that would go contrary to the spirit of everything that you.
That's exactly right. You can't take a right and convert it to a privilege and charge a fee for it.
Oh yeah.
That's against all rules. And
Yeah.
in fact, there's rules in the United States Code that says you can't do that.
Okay.
It's
So
just like a hunting license.
yeah, yeah.
You know, we have a right to go provide for our family, don't we? So
Yes.
if you're hungry,
Yeah.
you don't need a hunting license. You don't need a fishing license.
Yeah.
And that's already been held up in the Supreme Court. The Indians in Michigan did that.
So we'll say theoretically, I'm a police officer and I see you driving. You don't have a license.
Wait a minute. Did you see me driving or traveling?
I saw you in a car.
Okay.
Doing something.
Okay.
And you were behind the steering wheel.
Okay.
So you tell me what you were doing.
Okay, I was traveling because
Okay.
I wasn't hauling someone or some goods for hire. That's a term. That's one of those words that they use to trick you, to make you think you're doing something. Were you driving that car? Well, sure, I was driving that car. No, you weren't, because driving is a commercial term, which means you're hauling people or goods for hire. And
So then you're committing perjury. Then you're lying.
It's entrapment.
It's entrapment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's entrapment, and the poor policeman on the street or the poor highway patrolman out there, most of them don't know. And I will tell you right now, they don't know the law. They only know what they've been told.
Right.
And they only know how to act because that's what someone has told them to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why we get rolled around and treated badly and everything else. I'm always courteous to whoever stops me.
Right.
They always tell me, we'd like to see your driver's license. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have one of those. I sent it back years ago. What about your proof of insurance? Yes, I have that. I'd be crazy not to have it. Although, I don't have to have it because I have my truck or my car on a UCC1 and I've claimed it back. It's not a state vehicle. So that's the only reason I'm supposed to have it anyway, because it belongs to the state. It doesn't belong to me. We don't have the title for it. We only have certificate of title. So it makes a big difference. And there's all kind of little loopholes and places you can play, but that's what it's about. So actually, when a man stops me on the road, highway patrolman or a law enforcement officer stops me, and they want to see my driver's license, I politely tell them, my goodness, I sent that back 10 years ago. And then they ask, well, why don't you have one? And I don't have to have one. The Supreme Court of Texas and the Supreme Court of the United States says there's no such thing as a driver's license. And so I don't have it. I sent it back when I found out that. And so then they go ahead and write me a ticket. I've never paid one. And in fact, I've got a piece of paper in my pocket says, in the county where I live, says, we will not prosecute for no driver's license as long as you have proof of insurance. And I did tell the district attorney, I said, I don't have to have a proof of insurance. I don't have to have your insurance. I can also have a bond and I can insure myself. And he says, that's correct, you can. So if you know what the law is, what the law actually says, you can do those things. But you need to know how to defend yourself. And, I don't want to argue with a highway patrolman and go to jail because he doesn't understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I try to educate everybody I can.
Yeah. Wow. It would seem like that's quite a challenge. I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, I think I know nothing. So